Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today, we're diving into a topic that many of us struggle with at some point in our relationships: how to attract and keep the right partner. If you've ever found yourself wondering how to make a relationship last, or how to find someone who truly understands you, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're facing any relationship challenges or have questions, feel free to drop them there and I'll make sure to guide you on how to solve your problems. Let's get into it. When it comes to attracting the right partner, the journey starts with one very important thing: knowing yourself. You can only build a meaningful and lasting relationship if you understand who you are, what you truly need, and what you stand for. Without that foundational understanding, you might end up chasing a connection based on someone else's ideals. Or worse, getting into a relationship that isn't truly right for you. It's crucial to take time to reflect on your values, your desires, and your emotional needs, because at the end of the day, relationships are an extension of the relationship you have with yourself. Imagine for a moment that you've just met someone incredible. They're charming, attractive, funny, everything seems perfect. But what if, deep down, you aren't sure about what you want in the first place? What if you haven't taken the time to figure out who you are, what makes you tick, and what truly fulfills you? Without this knowledge, you might find yourself compromising on your own needs or getting lost in the excitement of a new connection. You might even ignore red flags or overlook aspects of yourself that deserve attention. This is why the first step in any relationship, whether it's with someone else or with yourself, must always be self-awareness. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of building a healthy and sustainable relationship. It means being in touch with your emotions, understanding what triggers you, and knowing what makes you feel fulfilled. And it doesn't just mean being aware of the good stuff, those things about yourself that you love and cherish. It also means being able to acknowledge your flaws, your fears, and the parts of yourself that might need growth or healing. It's all about being honest with yourself about where you're at and what you need to be at your best. Without this kind of awareness, it's easy to get swept up in the whirlwind of emotions and attachments that often accompany new relationships, only to realize later that you've neglected your own needs. But self-awareness doesn't just stop at knowing what makes you tick. It also involves understanding your emotional landscape. Think about it. If you're not in control of your own emotions, how can you expect to navigate the emotional complexities of a relationship? Being emotionally grounded doesn't mean you never get angry, upset, or frustrated. It means that you've learned to regulate those emotions in a way that doesn't overwhelm you or your partner. Emotional control is essential for not only attracting the right person, but also for sustaining a healthy relationship once it begins. This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions or deny them. Rather, it means you should have the tools and the awareness to process them in a healthy way. For example, let's say you're feeling insecure about something your partner said or did. If you don't know how to manage that insecurity, it can quickly spiral into unnecessary tension or conflict. But if you have emotional control, you can pause, reflect on why you're feeling this way, and then express your feelings in a clear and constructive manner. This makes you a better partner and sets the tone for the kind of relationship you want to have. It's also important to note that when we talk about emotional control, we're not talking about suppressing our vulnerability. On the contrary, vulnerability is one of the most powerful tools in building a deep, trusting relationship. But it has to come from a place of strength, not weakness. When you are emotionally aware and grounded, you can be vulnerable without feeling overwhelmed by your emotions or completely dependent on someone else for validation. You're able to share your fears, your dreams, and your insecurities with someone else, knowing that you've already accepted them within yourself. Respect is another crucial aspect of understanding yourself before entering a relationship. Respect for yourself means setting boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. It means knowing what you will and won't tolerate from others, whether that's in terms of how they treat you or how they expect you to behave. Without self-respect, it's easy to fall into relationships where your needs are overlooked, or worse, where you're treated poorly. When you know and respect your own worth, you naturally attract people who will do the same. But this respect extends beyond just yourself. It also influences how you approach your partner. If you have deep respect for who you are and what you bring to the table, you'll naturally extend that same respect to the other person. In fact, respect is often a reciprocal force in relationships. When you show respect for yourself and your values, you attract people who value you for who you truly are, not for a version of yourself you're trying to project. This is how you set the stage for a relationship that's built on mutual appreciation and understanding. Now, let's talk about self-love. Self-love isn't just about feeling good about yourself on a surface level. It's about accepting yourself fully, flaws and all. It's about embracing your imperfections and knowing that you're worthy of love and respect just as you are. This might sound simple, but it's not always easy. Many people struggle with self-acceptance, often because they've been conditioned to believe they need to be something they're not to be loved or to feel good about themselves. The truth is, no one is perfect. We all have our flaws, our scars, our mistakes, but those things don't define us. They're just part of the journey. When you have true self-love, you stop looking for external validation to feel good about yourself. You don't need someone else to complete you or fix your insecurities. You already know that you're whole and worthy, and you simply seek someone who complements you, not someone who defines you. This is the kind of mindset that will help you attract a partner who is equally whole, emotionally healthy, and ready to build something real with you. Ultimately, when you know yourself, when you understand your needs, your emotions, and your worth, you lay the foundation for the kind of relationship you truly desire. And it's not just about attracting the right partner, it's about being the right partner too. When you enter a relationship with this level of self-awareness, emotional control, and self-respect, you're not just building something with someone else, you're building something with yourself. And that's where the magic begins. So take the time to really get to know who you are, what you need, and what you're truly seeking in a partner. When you do, the right person will be drawn to you, and together you'll create something lasting and beautiful. When it comes to attracting the right partner, one of the most powerful things you can do is show up as your true self. It might sound simple, but it's a challenge that many people overlook or underestimate. We live in a world that often encourages us to put on a mask or we're a version of ourselves that we think others want to see. But here's the thing, people can tell when you're being fake, and more importantly, they can feel when you're not. And when you're not being true to yourself, you're not only setting yourself up for failure, but you're also limiting the potential for a real, lasting connection. So let's break this down. Authenticity is what creates a strong, lasting bond between two people. It's the foundation of any healthy relationship because it's rooted in honesty, transparency, and trust. When you're authentic, you allow someone else to see you for who you truly are, flaws and all. And that creates an environment where both partners can feel safe, loved, and accepted. But when you pretend to be someone you're not, when you mask your true feelings, or when you hide parts of yourself because you're afraid of being judged, you're not giving your partner the chance to truly know you. And without that kind of connection, it's almost impossible to build something real. Think about it. How many times have you been in a situation where you felt like you were pretending to be something you're not? Maybe you exaggerated a story to impress someone or tried to fit into a mold that didn't align with your true nature. In those moments, did you feel truly connected to the other person? Did you feel like you were being seen for who you really are? Probably not. And if you did, it was only for a moment. The connection you made was superficial at best. And that's the problem with pretending. it can never create the kind of deep, meaningful bond that we all crave. Now, consider the opposite scenario. Think about the times when you've been able to fully be yourself with someone, without judgment, without fear, and without the need to impress. In those moments, the connection you made was likely far more genuine, far more impactful. That's because authenticity allows for a kind of vulnerability that is essential in building trust. It allows both people to drop their walls and show their true selves, which, in turn, makes it easier to connect on a deeper level. But here's where things get interesting. Being authentic isn't just about being honest with your partner. It's about being honest with yourself first. If you don't know who you are or what you want, it's nearly impossible to show up authentically in a relationship. That's why self-awareness is so important. When you're clear about your own values, your own needs, and your own desires, you naturally begin to attract people who resonate with that version of you. And the best part is that this attraction is based on something real, something solid. It's not based on a facade or a projection of who you think you should be. There's a lot of pressure in today's world to present a curated version of yourself. Social media, dating apps, and even societal expectations often push us to show only the best parts of ourselves, the highlight reel, if you will. But here's the reality. No one's life is perfect, and no relationship is flawless. When you present an idealized version of yourself, you're setting the stage for disappointment when the cracks start to show. And they always do, because no one can maintain a facade forever. Eventually, the truth comes out. And when it does, it can cause a lot of damage, both to your relationship and to your own self-esteem. This is why it's so important to stop pretending. When you allow yourself to be genuine, you're not only giving your partner the opportunity to love you for who you truly are, but you're also giving yourself permission to love yourself more deeply. And that's when things get real. That's when the connection you create isn't just based on surface level attraction or shared interests, but on something much deeper, something that can withstand the challenges that all relationships face. Another thing to keep in mind is that being authentic doesn't mean you have to share every little detail about your life or lay bare your deepest, most vulnerable emotions right away. Authenticity isn't about oversharing or rushing into emotional intimacy before you're ready. It's about being honest with yourself and being true to who you are in each moment. It's about showing up as you are without pretending to be someone you're not. And when you do that, you create space for true intimacy to develop naturally without force or pressure. It's also worth noting that being authentic doesn't mean that you won't experience rejection. Not everyone will appreciate or connect with the real you, and that's okay. The key is to embrace the fact that you're not meant to be for everyone. The right person will appreciate you for who you truly are, without needing you to change or pretend. In fact, the right person will value your authenticity, and that's what will create the kind of relationship that's built to last. Now, when you're being genuine, you're also showing your partner that it's okay for them to do the same. Authenticity isn't just about your own behavior. It's about creating an environment where both people can feel safe enough to show up as their true selves. This mutual openness and honesty create a level of trust that is the bedrock of any successful relationship. But the key takeaway here is that authenticity is what leads to true connection. When you stop pretending, stop hiding parts of yourself, and stop trying to fit into someone else's expectations, you allow the kind of real, meaningful bond to develop that will stand the test of time. So don't be afraid to show up as your true self. The right person will not only appreciate it, but they'll be drawn to you because of it. When you embrace your authenticity, you set the stage for a relationship that's built on trust, respect, and real love. One of the most critical elements of building a strong, lasting relationship is emotional control. And this isn't just about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is okay when it's not. Emotional control is about understanding your emotions, acknowledging them, and managing them in a way that doesn't harm you or the person you're with. Relationships are full of ups and downs, and our emotions can often feel like they're on a roller coaster. But what separates healthy, enduring relationships from the ones that fall apart is the ability to keep your emotions in check and approach situations with a sense of balance and respect. Think about it. How many times have we found ourselves reacting to a situation in the heat of the moment only to regret it later? Maybe it was something your partner said or did that triggered you, and before you knew it, you were caught up in a wave of anger, frustration, or hurt. In that moment, everything feels intense, and it's easy to lash out, speak without thinking, or shut down completely. But here's the problem. Once those words are said, or once that emotional distance is created, it's not easy to take it all back. Emotional reactions, when unchecked, can escalate conflicts, cause harm, and lead to misunderstandings that could have been avoided if only you had taken a moment to pause, breathe, and respond calmly. This is where the importance of emotional control comes in. The ability to regulate your emotions doesn't mean you don't feel anger, sadness, or disappointment. It means that you've developed the tools and awareness to understand those emotions, express them thoughtfully, and avoid letting them dictate your actions. Emotional control helps you stay grounded and in control of how you respond to challenging situations, which ultimately creates a healthier and more stable environment for your relationship to thrive. Now, let's consider how emotional control is linked to respect. When we talk about treating your partner with respect, we're not just talking about courtesy or politeness. Respect in relationships goes deeper. It's about valuing your partner's feelings, perspectives, and emotional needs, just as much as you value your own. It's about recognizing that your partner is an individual with their own emotions, thoughts, and experiences, and that they deserve to be treated with kindness and understanding. When you're able to regulate your emotions, you naturally show more respect for your partner. Instead of lashing out in anger or letting your frustrations run wild, you choose to communicate in a way that respects both your feelings and theirs. This is where the magic happens. When both partners consistently practice emotional control and mutual respect, the relationship becomes a safe space for both to express themselves openly, without fear of judgment or retaliation. And this is exactly how harmony is created in a relationship. Harmony doesn't mean that there will never be disagreements or moments of tension. That's simply unrealistic. Every relationship faces its challenges, but harmony is about knowing how to handle those challenges in a way that doesn't create unnecessary conflict or emotional distance. When both people in a relationship are committed to maintaining emotional control, they can address problems calmly, listen to each other's concerns, and work together toward a solution without getting lost in the heat of the moment. Think about the Stoic principles for a second. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control everything that happens in life, but we can control how we respond. This is especially true in relationships. You can't control your partner's actions, but you can control your own reactions. When you embody this mindset, you stop reacting impulsively to every little thing that happens in your relationship. Instead, you start to choose how you respond, whether it's by taking a deep breath, pausing before speaking, or even walking away for a moment to collect your thoughts. This shift in mindset is what allows you to handle emotional situations with more grace, understanding, and composure. For example, let's say your partner does something that bothers you. It could be something small, like forgetting to do something they promised, or it could be something more significant, like a hurtful comment. Your natural instinct might be to respond immediately, to voice your frustration, or to give them a piece of your mind. But emotional control means recognizing that your first reaction isn't always the best one. It's about taking a step back, considering your emotions, and choosing the best way to express them. Maybe you take a moment to breathe, or you ask your partner about their perspective before you react. Maybe you choose to communicate your feelings calmly and respectfully, rather than letting them dictate your actions in a way that could escalate things unnecessarily. This kind of emotional regulation not only fosters respect, but it also creates space for understanding. When you're able to manage your emotions, you're more likely to approach conversations with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Instead of reacting impulsively, you'll take the time to listen to your partner's side of the story. And when your partner feels heard and understood, they're much more likely to listen to you in return. And here's the thing. Emotional control doesn't mean bottling up your feelings or ignoring problems. It doesn't mean that you suppress your anger, sadness, or disappointment until you explode. Emotional control is about finding a balance. It's about knowing when to speak up and when to step back, when to express your feelings and when to listen. It's about being in control of your emotions rather than letting your emotions control you. But emotional control also requires self-awareness. The more in tune you are with your emotions, the better you can manage them. If you don't understand why you're feeling a certain way, or if you haven't taken the time to process your feelings, it's easy for them to take over in the heat of the moment. That's why self-reflection and emotional intelligence are so important in relationships. When you know yourself well and understand your triggers, you can approach challenges with a level-headed perspective. You're less likely to overreact or make decisions that you'll regret later. Ultimately, when you embody emotional control and respect in your relationship, you create an environment where both partners can feel safe, valued, and understood. This is the foundation of any strong and lasting relationship. It's not about perfection or never having disagreements. It's about how you handle those disagreements and how you choose to treat each other, even in moments of conflict. When you practice emotional control, you're not just protecting your own emotional well-being, you're protecting the relationship itself. And that is the key to building something real, something that will stand the test of time. Effective communication is, without a doubt, one of the most essential ingredients in any successful relationship. If you want to build something lasting and meaningful with someone, you have to be able to communicate clearly, honestly, and openly. It's the glue that holds everything together, the bridge that connects two people and allows them to understand each other, not just on a surface level, but on a deep emotional level. Without good communication, even the strongest relationships can begin to unravel. The way you talk to your partner, the way you listen, and the way you express your feelings all play a critical role in the health and longevity of your connection. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself frustrated in a relationship because you felt misunderstood, or because you didn't feel like your partner was really hearing you? Maybe you were trying to express something that was important to you, but your partner didn't seem to grasp the full weight of what you were saying. Or perhaps you were the one who didn't quite understand what your partner needed, and the lack of clarity led to tension or even conflict. It's a common experience for many people, but here's the thing. Most of the time, these frustrations aren't the result of malicious intent or a lack of care. They're simply a matter of poor communication. When you can communicate effectively, you don't just avoid misunderstandings. You also create an atmosphere of trust and transparency where both partners feel comfortable expressing their feelings, needs, and concerns without fear of judgment or conflict. That level of openness is what allows both people to really know each other, to truly see one another for who they are, without the barriers that poor communication so often creates. And the truth is, being able to express your feelings clearly isn't something that just happens automatically. It's a skill that needs to be developed and nurtured over time. First step in effective communication is being honest. It's easy to hold back, to keep things to yourself because you're worried about how your partner will react or because you don't want to rock the boat. But here's the thing. When you hold back your true thoughts and feelings, you're doing more harm than good. You're creating a wall between you and your partner. And that wall only gets higher and thicker the longer you allow it to remain in place. Being honest means saying what's on your mind, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means being vulnerable and open about your emotions, your desires, and your needs. Of course, honesty isn't just about blurting out whatever comes to your mind in the heat of the moment. It's about knowing how to express yourself in a way that's clear and constructive without being hurtful or dismissive. It's about finding the right words to convey what you're feeling, even when those feelings are complex or difficult to articulate. And it's about creating an environment where your partner feels safe to do the same. Honest communication doesn't just happen in one direction, it's a two-way street. Both partners need to be able to share openly without fear of retribution. But here's something else that's often overlooked in relationships. Effective communication isn't just about talking, it's just as much about listening. So many of us are focused on what we want to say next, on getting our point across, that we forget the importance of actually listening to what our partner is saying. And listening isn't just about hearing the words, they have to be truly understood. When your partner is speaking, it's essential to give them your full attention. That means putting away distractions, making eye contact, and being present in the conversation. Active listening goes a step further. It's not enough to just hear the words. It's about truly understanding the underlying message, the emotions behind the words, and the needs that might be driving them. When you listen actively, you show your partner that you care about their perspective, that you value their feelings, and that you're committed to understanding them as fully as possible. This is the foundation of empathy in a relationship, being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes and grasp what they're really trying to say. Effective communication also means addressing conflicts head on, rather than letting them fester beneath the surface. It's easy to let resentment build over time when you don't address problems as they arise. You might think that avoiding tough conversations will keep the peace, but in reality, it does the opposite. Unspoken issues can create tension, distance, and bitterness. When you're able to address conflicts early on, you not only prevent them from escalating, but you also show your partner that you're committed to working through challenges together as a team. Now, this doesn't mean that every disagreement has to turn into a confrontation or an argument. Effective communication is about learning how to navigate disagreements in a respectful, calm, and solution-friendly way. It's about being able to disagree without attacking, to express frustration without blaming, and to stay focused on finding a resolution rather than winning the argument. When both partners can engage in a conflict without getting defensive or emotional, it opens the door to real growth in the relationship. It allows both of you to understand each other's perspectives and find a way forward that works for both of you. Another key component of effective communication is knowing how to express your needs. We all have desires, needs, and expectations in a relationship, but sometimes we're afraid to voice them because we don't want to seem needy or demanding. The truth is, when you don't communicate your needs clearly, you're doing yourself and your partner a disservice. Your partner isn't a mind reader, and it's unrealistic to expect them to know exactly what you need at all times. When you can express your needs honestly and clearly, you're not only helping your partner understand you better, but you're also giving them the opportunity to meet those needs, which strengthens the bond between you. But effective communication doesn't end once the conversation is over. It's important to follow through on what you've discussed, to make sure that both people are actively working to meet each other's needs and maintain a positive, open dynamic. Communication isn't just a one-time event. It's an ongoing process that requires continuous effort and attention from both partners. Ultimately, the goal of effective communication is to create a relationship where both people feel heard, valued, and understood. It's about building a partnership where both individuals can express themselves freely, knowing that their feelings will be respected and their needs will be met. When communication flows freely, relationships grow stronger, deeper, and more resilient. And that's the kind of connection that lasts a lifetime. One of the most important, yet often overlooked, aspects of a healthy and lasting relationship is knowing when to let go. It's natural to want to hold on to something that we've invested time, energy, and emotion into. But the truth is, not every relationship is meant to last forever. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and your partner is to recognize when it's time to step away, no matter how difficult that decision may be. This is not about giving up at the first sign of trouble or walking away when things get tough. In fact, relationships inevitably go through rough patches. There will be disagreements, misunderstandings, and moments of frustration. But there's a difference between working through challenges together and staying in a relationship that's no longer serving either of you. The key is knowing when the situation is beyond repair, when the relationship has shifted from something that brings joy and growth to something that is draining, toxic, or unfulfilling. Sometimes we stay in relationships because we fear the unknown, we fear being alone, or we fear the pain of ending something that once felt so promising. But what you must realize is that staying in a relationship out of fear, guilt, or obligation only prevents you from being open to the possibility of something better in the future. And let's be honest, we all deserve to be in relationships that bring out the best in us, not the ones that leave us feeling emotionally exhausted or diminished. One of the most difficult realizations in a relationship is when you come to understand that you've outgrown it. You and your partner may have started on the same path, but somewhere along the way, you've both changed. Your values may have shifted, your goals might no longer align, or you may have simply grown in different directions. It's important to acknowledge this reality instead of clinging to the idea of who you were as a couple at the beginning. People change over time. And sometimes even the most meaningful connections fade because the two people involved are no longer a match for each other's evolving lives. Recognizing when it's time to let go also means acknowledging the impact of staying in a relationship that isn't right for either of you. If your connection has become toxic, if there's constant conflict, disrespect, or emotional abuse, it's crucial to recognize that staying in that environment will only cause further harm. This isn't an easy thing to face, especially if you've been with someone for a long time or have built a life together. But your well-being, both emotionally and mentally, has to come first. Being in a toxic relationship can take a serious toll on your self-esteem, your happiness, and your sense of self-worth. The longer you stay, the more difficult it becomes to break free and rebuild. And that's why sometimes the kindest thing you can do for both you and your partner is to let go and give each other the space to heal and grow. It's also important to recognize that ending a relationship doesn't mean that it was a failure. Relationships are complex, and the fact that they end doesn't mean that the time you spent together was wasted. Every relationship, even the ones that don't last, teaches us something about ourselves and what we need in a partner. The love and experiences shared during that time are real, and they shape who we become. Letting go allows you to move forward, carrying with you the lessons learned from the past and helping you to better understand what you truly need in a future partner. In many cases, we tend to stay in relationships because we're afraid of what people will think. We worry about the judgment, the stigma of being single again, or the idea that we've failed in some way. But what you need to realize is that your life and your happiness are not defined by other people's opinions. The decision to let go should come from within you, based on what's right for your heart, your mind, and your future. Don't let external pressures dictate the course of your life. When you choose to prioritize your own well-being and emotional health, you'll be in a far better position to cultivate the kind of love you truly deserve. Letting go also means freeing yourself from the emotional burden that comes with staying in an unfulfilling relationship. You can't grow and move forward if you're constantly tied to something that's holding you back. By allowing yourself to step away, you give yourself the chance to rediscover who you are outside of the relationship. You give yourself permission to heal, to learn from the experience, and to be open to new possibilities that may be just around the corner. Of course, this doesn't mean that letting go will be easy. It will hurt, and there will be moments of doubt and sadness. You might question whether you made the right choice, or you might miss the companionship and connection that the relationship provided. That's all part of the process. But what's important to remember is that in the long run, letting go opens the door to new opportunities for growth and fulfillment. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make space for the right kind of love to enter your life. Love that brings out the best in you, challenges you to grow, and makes you feel seen, heard, and appreciated. Ultimately, knowing when to let go is an act of self-love. It's about acknowledging that you deserve to be in a relationship where both people are growing together, where mutual respect is present, and where emotional fulfillment is a constant. Sometimes that means walking away from something that once felt right, but no longer does. And when you make that decision, you're taking a step toward a future where your heart is open to something healthier, more aligned with your true self. So if you find yourself in a relationship that no longer feels right, take a moment to really evaluate what's happening. Are you both still growing together? Are you still supporting and respecting each other? If the answer is no, then remember it's okay to let go, because in the end, you're not giving up on love. You're simply making space for the love that truly belongs in your life. It's one of the hardest things we can face in a relationship, knowing when it's time to let go. No one enters into a relationship thinking it will end. In the beginning, there's excitement, optimism, and the belief that this could be something lasting. But the reality is, not every relationship is meant to last forever. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, things just don't work out. And it's in those moments, when the decision to walk away feels overwhelming, that we need to remind ourselves of something important. Knowing when to let go is not a failure. It's an act of self-love and self-respect. There's no question that relationships are challenging. They take work, time, and an immense amount of patience. But there comes a point when you have to be honest with yourself. Is this relationship still serving me in the way that I need? Are both of us growing, evolving, and becoming better versions of ourselves together? Or have we reached a place where staying is causing more harm than good? It's so easy to become emotionally attached, to feel like you've invested too much to walk away. We convince ourselves that things will get better, that the tough times will pass, and that if we just stick it out a little longer, everything will fall into place. But sometimes the reality is that no matter how much we want something to work, it simply isn't meant to be. And continuing to hold on to something that isn't right for you can end up doing more damage to your heart and your well-being than simply letting go. The decision to let go doesn't always come overnight. It's a process that unfolds over time. It's those quiet, nagging feelings deep inside that tell you something isn't right. Even if you can't pinpoint exactly what it is, maybe you've tried everything you can to make it work. Maybe you've had countless conversations, made changes, or worked on yourself in the hopes of improving the relationship. But at some point, you start to realize that no matter how much effort you put in, you can't change the fundamental issues that exist between you and your partner. And here's the thing, it's okay to admit that. It's okay to acknowledge that you've given it your all, but it's simply not enough. This doesn't make you weak or incapable of love. On the contrary, it means that you understand that your well-being and happiness are worth more than staying in a relationship that's no longer fulfilling or healthy for you. It means that you recognize that sometimes moving on is the healthiest thing you can do for both yourself and your partner. So many of us stay in relationships because we're afraid. We're afraid of the unknown, of being alone, of having to start over. We're afraid of what people might think or how we might be judged for ending something that seemed so perfect at one time. But here's the reality: staying in a relationship out of fear does not serve you. In fact, it only keeps you stuck, preventing you from experiencing the happiness and fulfillment that are waiting for you on the other side. Think about it for a moment. When you stay in a relationship simply because you're afraid of being single, you're not giving yourself the chance to grow and become the best version of yourself. You're holding yourself back from the possibility of meeting someone who truly aligns with your values, your dreams, and your emotional needs. You're essentially saying to yourself that you'd rather stay in something that isn't working than to take a chance on something better, something more fulfilling. But that's not fair to you, and it's certainly not fair to the person you're with. Because here's the truth: when you stay in a relationship that isn't right for you, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your partner as well. They might not be the right match for you, but that doesn't mean they deserve to be in a relationship with someone who isn't fully invested. Both people deserve to be with someone who is emotionally present, someone who is ready to give and receive love in a healthy, balanced way. And if you're staying out of obligation or fear, you're not giving your partner the opportunity to find someone who is truly right for them, just as much as they're not giving you the chance to find the person who is right for you. Now, letting go doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean the love you shared wasn't real. Love is complicated. It's not always enough to keep a relationship intact. You can love someone deeply and still realize that you aren't the right match for each other. People grow, change, and evolve, and sometimes two people just grow apart. That doesn't invalidate the love you once shared or the memories you created together. It simply means that the relationship has run its course and it's time to let go, to give each other the freedom to move forward and pursue the happiness that you both deserve. One of the hardest parts of letting go is the guilt that often comes with it. We feel guilty for ending something that seems so full of potential or for causing someone else pain. But remember this: the right relationship for you should feel like a partnership, a place where both people are able to be their true selves and thrive. If you're staying in a relationship that's no longer working, you're depriving yourself and your partner of the opportunity to grow in a way that aligns with your individual paths. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of what could have been. You might think, if only we'd done this differently, or if I'd just tried harder, maybe things would have worked out. But dwelling on the past only prevents you from moving forward. When you let go of what's no longer serving you, you create space for new experiences, new growth, and new opportunities for love to come into your life. The future holds so much more than what you've experienced so far. And sometimes it's only by letting go of the past that you make room for something even better. It's important to remember that letting go is not about giving up. It's about recognizing when something is no longer right for you and choosing to prioritize your own happiness. It's about having the strength to walk away from something that no longer serves you so you can embrace the future with a heart that's open to new possibilities. And when you make that choice, you're not just creating space for a better relationship, you're also creating space for a better version of yourself. Letting go may feel like one of the toughest things you'll ever do, but in the end, it's an act of courage, self-respect, and hope for the future. Because when you know when to let go, you give yourself the chance to move forward into something new, something healthier, and something that is right for you. And that, in itself, is worth everything. And that brings us to the end of today's discussion on how to attract and keep the right partner. Remember, the key is not to settle for less than what you deserve, to be true to yourself and to recognize when it's time to let go of what's no longer serving you. Relationships are about mutual respect, growth, and shared values. So take your time, be patient, and trust that the right person will come when the time is right. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss an update. And as always, drop your thoughts and any relationship struggles in the comments below. I'll be happy to help. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep growing.